Hello. So my name is Melinda Alexander, and I teach geography at Northern Virginia Community College in Alexandria, Virginia. We're a suburb of Washington, D.C. And let's see. So what I want to do today is just talk a little bit about how I've started to use OpenStreetMaps in my geography classes, specifically Introduction to Cultural Geography or Intro to Human Geography, and talk a little bit to frame how OSM is used a little bit in terms of demonstrating both to administrators but also to students the skills and competencies that they're practicing and engaging in, and the importance of mapping. So I just wanted to start by going through some of the learning standards that I've used as guidelines from a few different sources. So the first is our part of our general education competencies at Northern Virginia Community College. We have civic engagement. And so this general education competency, it emphasizes civic life and democratic participation, but it doesn't address the geographic or digital literacies that are essential for informed civic action. And although it doesn't explicitly refer to geography, this competency does incorporate scale by highlighting civic engagement at local, national, and global levels. So that reflects, again, that civic responsibility operates across different spatial contexts. And then I also looked at the National Geographic, the National Geography standards. So these were first introduced in the mid-1990s and then updated in 2012. These are voluntary benchmarks that guide geographic education in the United States. And these standards emphasize mastery of factual knowledge in both human geography and physical geography. They emphasize mental maps and geographic tools and ways of spatial thinking. These standards strongly support the development of competencies relevant to civic life. And Geography Standard number 18, the final one, points out that geographic literacy enables students to solve significant problems, make informed decisions, and take positive action on a variety of issues. So that right there is civic engagement. And the competency, or the standard number 18, is how to apply geography to interpret the present and plan for the future. And one could argue also that number 17, which refers to interpreting the past, is also very relevant. And then finally, the curriculum for spatial citizenship education. This was developed as a guiding foundation for teacher education and training in Europe. And this is a really comprehensive, really strong, rigorous guideline here. It provides a robust framework that encompasses technical skills, spatial thinking, and citizenship education. The report is wide-ranging and detailed, and it provokes critical thinking about the production and consumption of maps and critical communication with maps. So I work with community college students. They're typically in their mid-20s or so, although there's a wide range of ages and a very wide range of backgrounds, from folks who have a good, solid base of knowledge and skills to folks who are really sort of starting in at the ground level. And my students also have very varied access to technology and varied facility with technology. So, for example, I had a student a couple of years ago who, on the first day of class, I had pulled up just satellite view in Google Maps and was showing them some things about the local area. And he came up to me after class So what were you using? I was really surprised that I was using Google Maps. And you have this on your phone. So he pulled out his phone, and I showed him the app, and he immediately went to India and looked up his village. And apparently, he did not know that you could do that. So again, and I've got students who write papers on their phones. Again, wide variety here. So, tools like Living Atlas, the National Geographic Map Maker, ArcGIS Online, these are great. But what makes OSM special, again, the community associated with it, and the fact that it's open source. For the past several semesters, I've been introducing OpenStreetMaps to students in my course in a variety of ways. Can be used as an introduction to some of the technical skills, right? Digitizing points, lines, and polygons. Looking at different sources of imagery. Learning about missing maps, of course, and how not only are there wide areas of the world that have missing data, but also even in places that are relatively well mapped, things change all the time. This street is closed. One of our examples is our campus cafeteria is constantly undergoing renovation. Is it open or closed? So let's see. Learning about the importance of maps in supporting relief, disaster response efforts. We had a Washington Post cartographer come to our class and talk about the ways that, as a cartographer, she can find sometimes places in OpenStreetMaps are better mapped than they are in other sources. And then using OSM as a way for students to look at their own communities. I teach online and in person, and again, so both of those offer advantages in different ways. To have conversations with each other in the classroom of the level of detail, even just in different neighborhoods where we are in Northern Virginia, or if I'm teaching online, that can be across the state. And then to open a conversation on geosurveillance, privacy, the digitization of spaces and activities. And of course, the humanitarian mapping grabbed immediate attention of some of the students who were very enthusiastic about the ability to make a difference and a contribution through mapping for disaster relief. Another point for many of my students, again, this is like sort of a very introductory, their first experience. Where does the data come from? How does the map know what it knows? So again, it's really important to foster critical thinking, for students to question the data in maps and the maps themselves, especially as our lives become more digitized and more driven by algorithms. So again, doing activities where students are collecting data kind of reinforces that point for them, where it comes from. So using OpenStreetMaps aligns with the emphasis on spatial citizenship education, on helping students to critically use, understand, and produce spatial representations. So learners are not just passive consumers of maps, they actively edit, annotate, and reflect on spatial data. So this fulfills learning outcomes such as, again, from the Spatial Citizenship Report, reflecting on the use of geographic media in everyday life, analyzing how spatial information is constructed and the power relations behind it, creating alternative spatial narratives and visions using collaborative tools. And so when thoughtfully designed and discussed, there's one more domain that I didn't put on the slide, and that's the emancipatory knowledge domain. So using OpenStreetMaps, again, can help students to exercise agency in the social construction of space, shaping how places are represented and how they're understood. And this approach transforms mapping from just the technical skills, which are important, but into a critical practice and a democratic practice. Thank you very much.